Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Timekeeper. Today, I am going to be breaking down my new track called Laser Tech that I released last Friday. This track mainly started off as a experimentation session. Like, I was experimenting with a genre of dubstep I don't normally try. As you can see, I named the project file Wook, because it started off as like a Wook idea that I was working on, and then it just kind of turned into this. Yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing we have here is this subtronic synth. I pitched it down, as you can see. Let me expand this. I pitched it down 4 semitones because it was at G. And here's what it sounds like. Do it on its own. So here's what it sounds like with no processing on it whatsoever. So that's what it sounds like with no processing. Hang on, let me turn this up just a little bit. So that's what it sounds like with no processing. I added my little melodic fat rack that has like a built-in reverb, and it just makes the synth sound louder. Pretty cool. And then we have this plugin right here, Cymatics Deja Vu. Now, I love this plugin so much for sample manipulation, mostly like melody manipulation, like manipulating pads and drones and synths in this. Like, you can basically turn like a melody loop into something completely different just with this one plugin. So here's before, and here's after. You would probably still be able to tell that that was from the Subtronic sample pack, but like mostly like new listeners who do know Subtronics probably wouldn't be able to tell that that's a Subtronic synth. So you have like different parameters you can mess with. Originally, it was set to 1 bar. No, actually, I originally had it set to 4 bars because it just continued on. I originally had it set to 4 bars, but I didn't really like how it sounded, so I just set it to 1/2. Oh yeah, I had it set to 1/4. Excuse me, sorry. I'm forgetting what I did to my own track. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the sort of intro thing. That's like the entire intro pad. What else do we have here? So we got this top loop here that kind of comes in sort of like on the 9 mark. Basically a nice little Subtronics top loop that I chose out for the track. Kind of adds to it a little bit. Then we got this drum fill here. And then we got this build-up drum. Pretty cool. Very simple build-up drum. And then we got in the main bass folder, we got the main bass lead coming in, which I'll talk about in a moment, because there's actually a pretty fun story with it. So as you can see, it comes in. Pretty much the processing is an EQ, kind of cutting out the lows, because with it on, it sounds distorted and awful, so I kind of have it on for the sake of having it on, just so we don't have any distorted sounds. We got 3 OTTs, not 2 OTTs, a saturator at the end, and we got 2 reverbs here. This reverb is mainly for like to kind of resonate the sound out a little bit, because a friend of mine, Draco, told me like adding reverb onto your tracks will make it sound way less thin, because without it, obviously that it sounds like that without reverb, but with reverb on, sounds way better. And this reverb is kind of acting as like a starts high and then like kind of comes back in. I can't remember what track I was inspired by that did that. I know I was inspired by a track that did that. Oh no, it was I think it was Broken Code by Subtronics that did something like that, and I was very inspired by it, so I did it with this track. This track was actually inspired by Broken Code by Subtronics. You can tell in the sound design. We got some risers here with this impact that kind of comes in. Pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to go through all these risers because there's a whole bunch of them. But all together, they sound like this. Yeah. So what do we have here in the vocal section? Well, we have...
Control, fire up the lasers.
That is in fact my voice. It's me saying control, fire up the lasers. Let me turn off all these effects here so we can hear what this sounds like dry. Control, fire up the lasers. As you can hear, that is me. We have a little alter boy on here. I love it because like you can alter the format rather than the pitch. I love that because like I don't know how to explain it. It sounds low pitched, but it sounds not low pitched at the same time. So I just kind of added this on for like
Control, fire up the lasers.
For like an easy pitch bend, just so I didn't have to go into the sample and manipulate it. We have some reduced ambience to get rid of some of that fan noise in the background because it was hot in my room when I was working on this track.
Control, fire up the lasers.
Then we have some OTT to bring it out.
Control, fire up the lasers.
Now what's cool about the OTT is you can actually hear in the background.
Control, fire up the lasers.
So you hear how I'm saying control, fire up the lasers, right? In the background, you can hear like a little fizz from the fan noise in the background. It kind of sounds like a radio transmission, which is really cool. That's some accidental art for you guys right there. And then we have Camel Crusher on British Clean, because Ray Volpe did it with vocals, so why not? So I kind of remade the OTT Camel Crusher combo. Then we got some reverb.
Control, fire up the lasers.
So pretty much that's it, and we got another vocal right here.
Fire the lasers.
Which is not from the vocal, it's a separate session of me saying fire the lasers, but it sounds similar. Now we're getting to the good stuff, the drop.
Fire the lasers.
Alright, now what the hell is going on here? Now let's finally talk about the main bass synth here. The bass that goes... So, this bass right here, unfortunately I don't have the patch to it because it's from Faceplant. So, I signed up to the free trial for Faceplant through Splice, through their rent-to-own thing, just to kind of try it to see if I would like it. And I was just kind of messing around, and I think it was an Ivory sample into like the sampler oscillator, and I just put like a whole bunch of effects like disperser, distortion, format filter, and stuff like that. And I ended up getting that sound. I can't remember for the life of me what sample I used, but like I know it was an Ivory sample of some sort. I just kind of made that. And it's layered with this nice virtual riot laser. I mean, it's called Laser Tech, so you gotta include a laser in there somewhere. And also, the reason why I called it Laser Tech is because this sound even kind of sounds like a laser a little bit. Like, you can hear that sounds like a laser. So in the drop here, we have some more layers. We have this layer right here, which is frequency shifted. Pretty much the post-processing is the same as before. Just 3 OTTs, a saturator, and a reverb. But this one has a frequency shifter and a little bit of a hump to the EQ to kind of bring out some more tone, I guess. And then we have kind of this sharper boy right here. I think it is frequency shifted, this one too. It kind of sounds frequency shifted. Sounds like there's a disperser on it too. And then we have the laser sound, of course. So the drums, oh wait, no, the subs here. So the subs. So it's the same sub rack I've been using for pretty much all of my tracks. See, it still comes with a compressor because that's how I use the sidechain, is with a compressor. Um, so my sub is very simple. It's literally just using the sub oscillator in Serum, level all the way up, and stuff like that. I think there might be distortion. No, there's not even any effects on it. Just a saturator, and of course I might even change this to just one knob, because I don't use the compressor. But for my sample pack I'm working on, I will include a version that includes the compressor, just in case if people use compressors to sidechain. So for the drums here, these were actually pretty fun to put together here. So this is how my drum sort of system looks here. I have a separate group here for the kick and the snare. So the kick is a Subtronics kick. Got some good oomph. No, there's no G clip on it. There's G clip on the snares though. That snare is a mega snare, and then we got nice little punchy white layer. And then the rack here, this drum rack that I have on the kick and snare group, is what I like to call the Britum drum rack, because I copied this from Wooly, but not entirely, because he uses Transient Master, I use the Kilohertz Transient Shaper. So pretty much there's some knobs here you could turn. You got makeup, drive, attack, sustain, threshold, and speed. Pretty much controls. I will include this in my sample pack that I'm working on, but I will make sure to put a disclaimer, be like some of the packs or some of the racks requires third-party plugins. I try to keep them all stock, or if I don't keep them stock, I try to use free plugins in them too, just so people can easily access them. So yeah, that's the Britum drum rack. I mostly use that for like making like stompy drums, but I guess it worked in this case to make the claps go crazy. And this was actually the first time I turned the drive knob up. I normally don't turn that up, or else it'll heavily distort the drums, but in this case, it made the drums sound heavy. So here we have the hi-hat. It's literally just a Subtronics hi-hat. So now let's talk about that crazy lasery sustain that we hear right here. So let's reverse engineer this right here. So I made this in Vital because I don't use Vital a whole lot. So I wanted to use Vital some more here. And I was kind of messing around, and I ended up making like this bass right here. It sounds really terrible. And yeah, it's pretty much for the effects. We have chorus. I love Vital's chorus. I don't know what it is about it, but it's so much different than Serum's. I bet you it's the same as Serum's, but I don't know why. It just feels different to Serum's chorus. We have some distortion and some EQing. There's really not much going on with this bass. It's pretty much these peak filters are giving it its tone, but the real magic is this disperser here. Here's without it, and here's with it. It's giving that lasery vibe, and I love disperser. I know there is a way to make it entirely stock, so just for people who don't have disperser and don't want to afford it, you could probably find a billion tutorials online on how to make one from the EQ3 in Ableton. So we have OTT to kind of bring it more kind of louder. And of course my fat bass rack. It makes it sound more crazy, to be honest, because there's no stub. So for this sound right here, we kind of have a B section, and it's pretty much all the sounds, but just going da 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 da. So it's pretty much just all these sounds, but just going like. So yeah, it's pretty much just the same sounds as before, just doing that automation. But the sustain up here is different though. So it's pretty much the same process as before, but I just kind of tweak some things in Vital. Like this peak is a little more. The wavetables are different. It's just the init saws. And then, yeah, so we got pretty much the first drop and second drop kind of repeat, and then we have the same old repeat, copy and paste with the intro. So I'm going to talk about the last drop here.
Fire the lasers.
So here we have sort of a different flow here. So instead of going like dun 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 dun, it's going dun 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 dun, just to kind of switch up the flow a little bit, just so people don't be like, it sounds the same. Although I wouldn't really care anyway, but like, you know. Pretty sick. So pretty much the same samples as before. So yeah, we got. So all the samples are doing like the... Oh, except the laser is going like boop, 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 instead of that. So the sustain here is different. It's pretty much the same processing, except I turned up the peak a lot and deleted the EQ, because who needs EQ? Also, I forgot to mention the reason why the LFO on this patch looks a little weird. That's because I was trying to emulate the flow that I was going for in the drop with the MIDI there, with the MIDI right here, in the LFO, but I failed, so I just did it in the MIDI, and it ended up working out. So pretty much just the peak filter up. The disperser is the magic, so I've turned the disperser off. Sounds terrible. So the disperser is getting it. Also, I didn't know there was like different presets here. Interesting. I've never actually tried out the presets. I should. And of course, the second sustain is just pretty much the same sustain, but just up higher. As you can see, it's just up higher. So yeah, I think I have some ending stuff. I think, yeah, an impact to end it off. That's what I usually do with tracks, is just have a little bit of an impact. Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire track. Also, let me show you guys what I was talking about with what I use the sidechain. I don't use compressors anymore. I use like the sidechain trigger thing. I'll probably do another video on how to do that for people, but I've been loving that way to sidechain ever since I found out about it. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire breakdown of Lasertech. I'm extremely happy with how the track came out, and like I said, this started off as an experimental session, and then it turned into like a full track. Also, I made this track in the span of 3 days, which, you know, looking at the presets, looking how simple they are, it's like, it's not that impressive, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with how this track came out, and I'm pretty happy with the support my friends have been giving me on this track, because they're like, I even impressed Raccoon with it. So that's a plus. He's into that like woke music, and I'm saying woke, by the way, for the Karens on the internet. For the woke, he's into the whole woke thing. So I impressed Raccoon with this track, which is pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this track breakdown, and I'll see you all in the next one.